Hi Reddit. I'm Jake. I'm 27, and what I'm about to share feels like something out of a Netflix drama, but I swear it's all true. Let me just say this. I bought my dad a house 6 years ago after my mom died. Yeah, I bought it. The deed is in my name. But right now, his new wife, let's call her Nancy, is acting like I'm some unwanted guest in what's technically my property. The nerve. Okay, let me rewind. When my mom passed away, my dad lost it. They'd been together 35 years, and when she died, he unraveled, emotionally and financially. He lost his job a few months after the funeral. I watched him go from a strong, dependable guy to someone who couldn't even keep up with rent. So I stepped in. I was already out on my own and doing okay financially. I bought him a modest house in a quiet suburb. Nothing fancy, just peaceful and safe. It became his sanctuary. He had his dog, Jasper, a black lab that was basically my mom's shadow when she was alive. That dog kept him sane. I visited every weekend, brought groceries, helped with the yard. We'd sit out back, grill, talk about nothing. It was healing for both of us. Then came Nancy. They met at some grief support thing. She was all smiles and soft words. At first, I was genuinely happy for him. I mean, who wants to see their dad miserable, right? If this lady helped him find some light again, good. So when he said she was moving in, I didn't argue. Big mistake. First it was just Nancy. Then her adult daughter, Amy, just kind of appeared. No warning. Just showed up one day with boxes. I asked my dad about it, and he said, she's just staying a while until she figures things out. Yeah, well, 2 months later, Amy was still there, unemployed, hogging the TV, and acting like I was the outsider when I came to visit. And then came Becca, Nancy's younger daughter. She's 19, full of TikTok drama energy, and brings chaos wherever she goes. She moved in after fighting with a roommate, or whatever. Suddenly, the house had 5 people in 1 bathroom, and every single one of them acted like I was the intruder when I showed up. Let's be clear, they didn't ask to move in. They just did. And my dad, he didn't push back. I think part of him just didn't want to be alone, even if that meant getting steamrolled. But then it got worse. Jasper, remember the dog? He was getting old. Sweetest thing. Never barked, never bit, just wanted to lie by someone's feet and nap. Well, Amy said she didn't feel safe around him. Becca said he smelled bad. Nancy? She started dropping hints like, maybe it's time for Jasper to go to a nice farm. A farm? You kidding me? I snapped. Told him flat out, Jasper stays. End of discussion. I took him to live with me a week later. My dad cried when I did, but he thanked me too. He knew what was coming. That was the moment I realized they weren't just living there. They were taking over, and they thought my dad was too old and too tired to stop them. And maybe he was, but I wasn't. When I say the atmosphere shifted after Jasper left, I mean it turned toxic. Before, when I showed up, I'd get the fake smiles and awkward tension. Now, they didn't even bother. Amy would roll her eyes the moment I walked through the door. Becca made a habit of stomping loudly upstairs, muttering under her breath, like I was disturbing her precious TikTok filming time or whatever it was she did all day. Nancy? She'd just offer that forced smile that never reached her eyes, the kind that screamed, I'm being polite because I have to, not because I want to. My dad? He looked smaller every time I saw him. Not physically, though the illness was already draining him, but emotionally. Like the fire in him was fading day by day. And every week I came over, I noticed more changes. My mom's old photo albums, gone from the living room shelf. Her favorite throw blanket she used every winter, folded and stuffed in a plastic bin in the garage to declutter, Nancy said. Even the artwork my dad painted back in the 90s, he used to do landscapes when he and mom traveled, taken off the walls and replaced with what I can only describe as Walmart glam decor. You know the type, generic quotes about family and faith in fake gold cursive. It was like they were trying to erase every trace of the life he had before Nancy. The final straw for me? They replaced my mom's antique dining table. She inherited it from her grandmother. It was solid oak, old but timeless. I grew up eating at that table. Holiday dinners, birthday cakes, school projects. One Saturday I came by and it was gone. In its place, a glass monstrosity that looked like it came from a budget influencer's failed Etsy store. I asked my dad where the table went. He looked confused and said, "Nancy said it was getting refinished." Bull. I went into the garage later that day. It wasn't there. I knew it wasn't. I checked every corner. It was gone. Probably sold off on Facebook Marketplace. And my dad didn't even know. He wasn't just being pushed out. He was being rewritten. But here's the thing Nancy didn't realize. I wasn't some passive bystander. She saw me as the son, sure. Some guy who visited on weekends and brought groceries. She had no idea I held the title deed to the entire house. And I was fine keeping it that way. Until she gave me a reason not to. It happened 3 weeks later. I got a call from my dad while I was at work. He rarely called during the day, so I picked up immediately. He sounded broken. "Hey kid, I think I messed up. My stomach dropped." "What's wrong?" "I think Nancy's trying to." "I don't know. Maybe you should come by." I left work early, heart pounding the whole drive. I was half expecting to find him in a hospital bed. Nope. He was sitting in the backyard, alone, hunched over, hands shaking. And the moment he saw me, he started crying. Now, I'm not great with emotions. I never have been. But seeing my dad like that, this man who raised me, taught me how to ride a bike, helped me with homework, showed me how to shave, it gutted me. She said I needed to sign something, he told me. Some paperwork about the house. Said it was to make things easier if I ever got too sick to handle things. My eyes narrowed. He handed me a folder. Inside, a document labeled, "Quitclaim Deed." Nancy had tried to get him to sign the house over to her. Not him. Her. Let that sink in. This woman, who'd been in our lives for maybe 2 years, tried to legally claim the house that I bought for my dad as her own. Oh, hell no. I muttered, flipping through the pages. She even left a blank for the notary's signature. Like she had this whole thing ready. Like she'd been planning it for months. I looked up at my dad. "Did you sign anything?" He shook his head. "No. I told her I wanted to talk to you first." She got mad. Said I didn't trust her. Good. She was right. He shouldn't have trusted her. "I'm going inside." I told him. "Son," he said softly, "don't start a fight." I paused at the door. "Dad," I said, "this isn't a fight. This is war." Nancy was in the kitchen, sipping coffee like she hadn't just tried to pull a real estate con job. "Ah, you're here," she said, fake cheerful. "I was just telling your dad how confusing legal paperwork can be. It's good you're here to help." I dropped the folder on the counter. "You really thought you were slick, huh?" She blinked. "Excuse me. You tried to get my dad to sign over my house. Without a lawyer. Without even reading it." She scoffed. "It was just a precaution. I was only trying to make sure the estate would be handled properly if anything happened." "Estate?" I laughed coldly. "You think this is an estate?" "Nancy, this isn't a Hallmark movie. It's a 2-bedroom house in the suburbs, and it doesn't belong to my dad. It belongs to me." Silence. You could have heard Amy's fake eyelashes hit the floor upstairs. She stared at me like I just slapped her. "What do you mean it's yours?" "I mean the deed is in my name. The mortgage? Pay by me. The insurance? In my name. Property taxes? Auto-deducted from my account. My dad's been living here rent-free because I wanted him to have a home after Mom died. But you?" I leaned in. "You're a guest. A guest who's just overstayed her damn welcome." She tried to recover. I didn't know. Your dad never mentioned that." "No," I said, "because he never thought he needed to. He trusted you." And then, because she just couldn't help herself, she sneered. "So what? You're going to evict your sick father." That hit harder than I expected. For a second, it shut me up, but only for a second. "I never kicked my dad out," I said quietly. "But you, Amy, Becca, you better start packing." And pack they did eventually. Not without drama. Becca cried like someone had canceled Coachella. Amy accused me of being sexist, which okay. Nancy tried to guilt-trip my dad every day for a week, accusing him of letting his son ruin everything. He just sat there, quieter than ever. I didn't push him. I knew he was torn between peace and pride. But I kept my visits daily, made sure he was okay, helped him with his medications. Eventually, I served Nancy an official 30-day notice. Turns out being the legal owner has perks. She tried to fight it, claimed it wasn't fair, even tried to say I had abused my power or whatever. Her little Facebook posts were gold, prayers needed during this difficult time, as if she were the victim. My friends called it the slowest, pettiest eviction in the world. But I wasn't doing it for revenge. I was doing it because my dad deserved peace in his final months. And I wasn't going to let some dollar store step-forward wife rewrite his story. A week after I served the 30-day notice, Nancy tried to turn everything into a full-blown courtroom drama. She started parading around the house like a woman on the edge, loudly FaceTiming some friend who just happened to be a paralegal, dropping not-so-subtle comments about how this situation might require legal action, and leaving printouts of tenants' rights on the kitchen counter like we were roommates going through a rough patch. At first, I ignored it. I figured she was bluffing, until I got a certified letter in the mail. Inside was a formal cease and desist from her, addressed to me, claiming I was harassing her family and threatening wrongful eviction. I read it 3 times, thinking it had to be a joke. But nah, she was serious. The woman I'd never seen work a real job in her life had somehow decided she was the victim here. And her daughter, Amy? She doubled down. She made a TikTok, yes, a real TikTok, where she called me a toxic narcissist son who's kicking his dying father onto the street. It went semi-viral. For a hot second, people in the comments were calling me evil, heartless, and even the real villain of 2025. I didn't care. I had receipts, and I was done being quiet. So I made a call to my lawyer. Her name's Monica. She doesn't mess around. I sent her everything. The deed, the texts, a copy of the cease and desist, even a link to Amy's whiny influencer meltdown. Monica hit me back less than 2 hours later. We're not only covered, you're the one with leverage. Let me explain something Nancy never realized. When I bought the house, I didn't just put it in my name. I put under a trust. Why? Because back when I was first helping my dad, a close friend of mine went through something similar. A gold digger ex-wife who tried to sell his father's home right after he passed. So I protected the house from day one. The trust's beneficiary? Me. Only me. Monica told me. If she pushes this, we'll bury her in paperwork. She's got no legal claim to anything. Not the house, not your dad's assets, nothing. But let's make sure she knows that loud and clear. And that's when we decided to escalate. 2 days later, Monica and I showed up at the house together. I hadn't told Nancy I was bringing legal backup. We walked in and found her in the kitchen, wearing a silk robe, sipping coffee like she hadn't just tried to legally smear my name. She froze when she saw Monica. "Oh," she said, straightening up. "You brought a lawyer?" Monica smiled sweetly. "You could say that." "Hi, Nancy. I'm here to clarify some confusion." Nancy looked at me, and for the first time, she wasn't smug. She was nervous. Monica wasted no time. She placed a folder on the table. Inside, you'll find proof that the property belongs to a trust managed and funded solely by my client. You have no legal tenancy rights, no lease, and no documentation proving financial contribution to this household. Furthermore, I live here, Nancy interrupted. I'm his wife. You live here, Monica nodded, as a guest of the owner. That would be my client. Your husband, lovely man, by the way, is not listed on the deed, the mortgage, or the trust. So unless you'd like to attempt fraud, again, we suggest you vacate peacefully before this becomes a matter for the courts. Nancy turned pale. I wasn't trying to commit fraud, she stammered. Monica pulled out a printed copy of the quitclaim deed Nancy tried to get my dad to sign. Interesting, Monica said, flipping through it. Because this form here, it's illegal to pressure a mentally and physically impaired individual to sign over property. That's elder coercion. And we have phone records, email timestamps, and witnesses. Would you like to see the penalty in your state? Nancy said nothing. Monica leaned in. You've got 10 days to get out. After that, we file. And when we do, it won't just be eviction. We'll be coming for damages. Nancy opened her mouth, then closed it. She was done. But here's where it gets really wild. That same night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered and immediately regretted it. It was Becca, hysterical, crying. Not the fake TikTok tears, real sobbing. She's trying to get Dad to change his will, she blurted out. She said she'd make sure you get nothing after he's gone. My blood ran cold. I'd assumed the house was the end game. I hadn't even considered the will. I knew Dad didn't have much. His savings were modest, and the only real asset was the house. But now I realized Nancy thought everything would transfer to her by default, especially if she positioned herself as the grieving wife and me as the estranged, bitter son. Becca, who had been silent for weeks, said, I overheard her talking to Amy. They were laughing. She said, soon as the old man croaks, we flipped the place and moved to Florida. I hung up and drove straight to the house. My dad was in bed, dozing off. I sat beside him, gently woke him up, and said, Dad, did Nancy mention anything about your will? He hesitated. She said we should update it, just in case. I told her I'd think about it. Don't, I said quietly. Please. He looked at me for a long time, then nodded. I trust you, son. The next morning, we had the will officially amended, with Monica as witness. I had to bring in a notary and explain everything in detail, but my dad was alert enough to sign. It was all recorded, all legal, all solid. He left everything to me. I wasn't after the money. I was after peace. And more importantly, I wasn't going to let the woman who tried to erase my mother's memory rewrite the end of my father's life. 10 days later, Nancy, Amy, and Becca packed up their drama and left. Amy made a final TikTok about how money ruins families. Becca blocked me. Nancy tried to hug my dad before leaving. He turned away. I watched them drive off from a porch. Jasper sat at my feet, tail wagging. And for the first time in months, it was quiet. My father passed away on a quiet Sunday morning. There was something eerily peaceful about that day. No wind, gray sunlight, stillness. I was sitting next to him when it happened. No drama, no pain, just one final breath and then silence. Like he simply let go. I didn't cry right away. At first, it was numbness. My brain just couldn't process the fact that I was now the last one standing, the only family left. Well, me and the dog. Jasper lay under the bed, waiting like my dad was going to get up any minute. It didn't really hit me until later that night, when I tried feeding Jasper and he didn't eat. He just lay down near the bedroom door, still waiting. That's when I broke down. I kept the funeral small, quiet, just like Dad would have wanted. No theatrics, no flower explosions, no dramatic speeches, just a few close friends and relatives. But I knew someone else would show up. And oh, she did. Nancy pulled up about 20 minutes before the ceremony, dressed in all black, veil and everything, like she was auditioning for a 1950s noir film. The same woman who left my father days before he passed without so much as a call was now here, playing grieving widow. She walked up to the casket, dabbed at her eye with a tissue. Not a single tear fell. Let's be real, and whispered, "You deserved better, sweetheart." Oh, really? I had to clench my fist not to lose it right there. But I waited, because I had something planned. As the crowd thinned out and the service ended, Nancy approached me with a forced somber face and said, "I hope there's no hard feelings. We all grieve in our own ways. I'd like to stop by tomorrow and collect a few of my things from the house." I nodded. "Sure," I said calmly. "Come by at 10 a.m. I'll be waiting." And believe me, I was. At exactly 10:07 the next morning, Nancy pulled up in the driveway. And she didn't come alone. She brought a U-Haul. Yep, this woman really thought she was about to waltz back in, grab whatever she wanted, and ride off with half the house. Probably figured I was too emotionally wrecked to fight. Bad read. I met her at the front door, holding a large envelope. "Before you take anything," I said, "you might want to read this." She opened the envelope and froze. "Court summons." "What is this?" she asked, her voice tight. "You're being sued," I said, "for attempted fraud, elder coercion, and unlawful interference with estate assets." She blinked hard. "You can't be serious." I handed her another document, my dad's final will, signed, notarized, and locked in before he passed. Every T crossed, every I dotted. "You're not in this will, Nancy. Not for the house. Not for the savings. Not even for Jasper's dog bed. But I'm his wife." "Wife? Yes. Beneficiary? No. He figured you out before it was too late." She tried the usual script, playing victim, claiming ignorance, rambling about not meaning any harm. She even teared up a little, but not a single drop of sympathy fell my way. I didn't let her into the house. Instead, I handed her one last letter, a legal notice barring her from any access to the property, now officially part of my father's protected estate. Her personal items? Already boxed up and waiting on the porch. She had 10 minutes. She stood there like her entire scam just collapsed, which it had, and then she climbed back in her U-Haul and drove off without another word. But the story didn't end there. 2 days later, I got a message on Facebook. It was from Amy. Yeah, that Amy. The one who called me a heartless monster on TikTok for evicting her family. Hey, just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know the whole story. Mom told us a lot of lies. I didn't reply. Not because I was holding a grudge, but because I was exhausted. Done. I'd spent months watching my father get manipulated, disrespected, and nearly written out of his own life story. I did what I had to do to protect him, to preserve his dignity, and to guard the one thing that mattered to him most: home. That night, I sat in the living room flipping through an old photo album. Jasper was curled up on the couch next to me, snoring gently. Tucked between 2 old photos was a folded note. It was handwritten, no signature, but I recognized my dad's handwriting immediately. If you're reading this, I'm probably gone. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me for letting it get this far, but I always knew who was really there. Thank you, son, for not letting me disappear. I cried, but this time it wasn't out of grief. It was relief. 3 weeks after the funeral, I thought it was over. The house was quiet, peaceful again. My father was gone, but his presence lingered in every corner. The smell of his old cologne in the hallway closet, the tiny post-it notes he stuck on drawers. Don't slam this one. The half-finished crossword puzzle on the kitchen table. Jasper had finally settled back into a routine, spending most of his time in the backyard under Dad's favorite tree. I thought we were past the chaos. I was wrong. It started with a call from a bank. The rep, a polite woman named Tanya, said there had been suspicious activity involving one of my father's accounts, a joint savings account that had been mostly untouched for over a year. What kind of activity? I asked. There was an attempt to transfer a large sum, $14,000, to a new account created 2 days ago. The request came in online, but was flagged for verification. We wanted to confirm authorization. Who requested it? She hesitated. A woman named Nancy. Of course. Nancy had one more move up her sleeve. Turns out, before she left, she somehow got access to my dad's online banking. Maybe she guessed his password. Maybe she had it saved. Who knows? But she attempted to clean out what little was left, the emergency money Dad kept stashed away, just in case. Thing is, the account had already been flagged in our estate filings. When I sat with our lawyer, Monica, weeks before, she'd advised me to notify the bank and place holds on any unassigned assets while probate went through. Good thing I listened. Nancy's request triggered an alert. That's why I got the call. That's why I had the proof. We froze the account, filed an official fraud report. Within 24 hours, Nancy's new account was locked and flagged for investigation. She wasn't just greedy. She was sloppy. Still, part of me knew this wasn't about money anymore. Nancy wasn't doing this for the 14 grand. She was doing it for the same reason she replaced Mom's photo albums with Hobby Lobby wall signs. For the same reason she tried to sneak her name onto a deed, control. And now she had none. That night, I got a text from a random number. No name, just a message. You're pathetic. Your dad would be ashamed of you. I stared at it for a second, then responded. You stole from a dying man. Forgive me if I don't value your opinion. Blocked. Next morning, another number, another text. You really think you're better than everyone? You're just bitter and alone. And then another, and another. Different numbers. Same venom. I knew it was Nancy, or Amy, or Becca, or all three. They were unraveling. I wasn't going to engage. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. Instead, I saved every message, every number, forwarded them to Monica. She emailed me the next day. They just handed us evidence of harassment on a silver platter. 2 weeks later, we got a court date. Nancy was being formally charged with attempted fraud and unlawful interference in estate proceedings. Becca and Amy weren't named in the suit, but they were listed as associated parties. We didn't even need to fight. She settled. She agreed, in writing, to forfeit any and all claims to the estate. That included the house, bank accounts, furniture, insurance payouts, memorabilia, everything. In return, we dropped the charges. It wasn't mercy. It was strategy. Monica said it best. Let her walk away broke and humiliated. That's the better punishment. But I had one more move to play. About a month after the court date, I held a small memorial gathering in the backyard. It was just a dozen or so people, some old neighbors, Dad's fishing buddies, a couple of my childhood friends. Jasper roamed around, wagging his tail like it was the good old days. We laughed, cried a little, told stories. Then I brought out a box, Dad's ashes, and we spread them beneath the old sycamore tree. The one he planted with Mom in '97. The one he read under every summer. The one where Jasper now spends his afternoons. I didn't invite Nancy, but I did post a photo afterward. Just a simple shot of the tree, the sunlight, the urn. Caption: he's finally home. The post didn't tag her, didn't even mention her, but she saw it. I know she did, because later that night, Amy's TikTok popped up again. She was crying. Again, people are so fake. They pretend they're the hero, but they destroy families. They erase people. They don't care who they hurt. The comments? Different this time. One said, maybe your mom shouldn't have tried to steal a house. Another, nah, I remember you. Weren't you the one who said his dog was scary? Public opinion had shifted. The internet turned. And Nancy's little army of sympathy evaporated. Last week, I finally finished restoring the house. I brought back Mom's dining table. It was in a friend's garage the whole time. Polished it up myself. Hung Dad's paintings again. Dug out the old photo albums and put them back where they belonged. The place felt like home again. And I realized something. This house wasn't just about bricks and walls and property rights. It was about legacy. My father's life, and my mother's, was never meant to be rewritten by a woman who showed up 2 years ago with a fake smile and a plan. This house was the last real piece of them I had, and I protected it, not because it was easy, but because it mattered. Now, I work from the same office where Dad used to paint. Jasper snores under my desk most afternoons. On weekends, I invite a few friends over, grill in the backyard like we used to. We sit under that sycamore and talk about nothing and everything. The house is quiet again. No lies, no drama, no TikToks, just peace. And sometimes when I sit out there with Jasper curled at my feet, I swear I can still hear my dad laugh, low and warm, drifting through the breeze. He's gone, but I kept his story alive, and I made damn sure the wrong people couldn't write the final chapter. See you later.